YouTube, hello, I'm iltisine, and this is Techtonica. I've got about 300 hours in Techtonica, with about 135 of those in one main save since the 1.0 launch back in November. I'd like to talk about the performance of the game, the building that single-handedly crushed my FPS, and what you could do to avoid it in your own factory. Let's jump right into it. This video is sponsored by me. Please subscribe down below. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to be using the Steam FPS viewer in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and I'm going to go through my own settings as I have them for my main base in the late game. I will open this up and go directly to the video settings. I left the FOV normal. I do play in borderless windowed full screen at 1440. I did cap the frame rate at 60 FPS, although it doesn't rarely get up there very often. I do have screen shake off, and you can see the rest of my settings below. I'm using technically a custom preset. The texture quality, terrain quality, voxel mesh is all low. All of the extra options here are off. Image enhancement is off, the light quality is low, and you can see the rest of them there as well. I wanted to get that out of the way first to show you how I play the game, on what settings. I'm going to go and jump into a new game, just a standard expedition, and move around a little bit, and I would like to show you my FPS at the start of a game there. This is right at the beginning of a new save. I've just come out of my cryopod and I'm about to walk into the main factory for the first time. As you can see, my FPS does hit a pretty stable 59-60 FPS. Again, that is capped at 60. Looking out amongst the drill that is actively working, things like that. The glass, everything is fine. Everything looks good. I have not done anything yet. This is literally the beginning of the game, and this is how my performance looks. I'm gonna mine out here and just take a little walk around to Lima.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I'm gonna stop Sparks from talking. I'm still at 60 FPS. I just wanted you to know that that's what it does look like in the beginning of the game. I will then be going in and loading my main save, which is save folder 4. As you can see, I have 134 nearing 135 hours in my last manual save, and it will be quite a difference. I'll load that up in just one moment. I just want to make sure as we get into my main save that you know that this is in-game content, so quick spoiler alert: if you don't want to see anything from the late game stages, you should probably look away now until you come back later. On that note, this is a fairly late game base. This is one level that I have a production line going. I do have all of the technology unlocked. I've got a total of 24,000 cores that are left over specifically for the core boost technologies, which increase your production speed. Just so you know, like even the tech tree, my FPS is at 30. Looking around the level, I am usually sitting around 30 to 40 FPS. It's not too bad. It feels good still to play on these levels and things like that. The water here doesn't bother me. None of the machines that are running on this level bother me or anything like that either. But I do want to take you to my main floor where I have the majority of my production and show you, well, the difference that one building can make. I'm gonna load this one on screen, and here we are, walking out into my main floor. Mine the spaghetti, but you can see getting to Victor here. This is where the majority of my production is. We are immediately down to the teens and FPSs. It does hit 20 a couple of times here and there. And as I move around, you can see the buildings are loading in as we get towards them and things like that. And I will let you know that the Crusher is actually the building that is the culprit here for the FPS drop. What I'm going to do is going to go through this floor, specifically just deleting Crushers. I'm doing this because I want you to see what it does to my FPS when these are removed from the floor. I would like to point out that removing all of the crushers is going to stop the majority of my production on the base. I won't actually have much running once these are gone, because they are kind of used a lot in the end of the game. You can see my FPS is already into the mid-20s with the ones that I've deleted so far. I have to try to remember where all of them are, because it does make a difference on how many you leave behind. We're approaching 30 FPS already. Technically, I know this is not definitive. Like I said, my machines are not going to be working once this is done, so it's not an exact science. I have heard with my community on Twitch that it is pretty well known in the Discord that the crusher is what causes your FPS to drop so readily. We're up to 30 and into the 30s already as we are going around and getting rid of these. There are quite a few that I've got going. I would also like to mention I am recording on the same computer that I am playing the game on. So I do have OBS running as well as the rest of the software needed to make this video. And with that, once I stop moving, you could see we're up into the 40s for FPS already. There is one other thing that I did before in my normal save just on stream, which was getting rid of a ton of excess foundations. I used to have flat floors along large portions of this level. That did noticeably increase my FPS by 2 to 3, maybe 4 at times, but it did also make the game just feel better. Now that I've shown that to you, and it has worked, we are up into the 40s for FPS already, even though there's a ton of machines still left here and boxes and belts everywhere. Now that we've done this, I would like to tell you, I guess, advice for how you should build, or how you could build, to avoid getting this kind of performance drop in your main base. I've discovered something, actually, in my save after deleting the crushers. I was going to talk about what my suggestion would be, and I'm still going to, for how to build your base so that you can avoid the FPS drop of the crusher. And I started off by going to the Mech level, and I noticed that my FPS is up at 59, probably bouncing at 60, even with a few crushers on this level once I came up here. Now I'm going to load my normal save from the manual file. I'm going to do this all on stream so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I was up around 60 FPS when we came to level 15 now. That was with all of the crushers removed from my normal base. I'm going to let this all load on screen so you can see it's all happening. This is now with my normal save, where the crushers are in fact intact in the normal base. We go back to the Mech level, and same level. I never changed anything here, but even with the changes on Victor, my FPS is now down to 40 again. This does bring me to my suggestion for how to build your base, and it would be not to make everything in one place, but to make a lot of satellite bases, specifically at least with the crushers. Maybe make one process for the crushers on a level, and then focus on using the elevator to get things from one level to another. I've done this a couple of times in my base. I didn't start to until we had FPS issues, and that is when I began doing it. I've shown you this one here, and this goes with part of the suggestion as well. I am transporting some carbon powder brick to this level, but the rest of what this level needs, I'm actually mining on this level. So we're mining copper ore, we're mining iron ore. Things that are being used on this level are being made here, and it is outputting the white cubes that you need for the end game. to show another example of how you could utilize the elevator to split up your factory, possibly saving your performance. This is by no means a guarantee either. It would just be a suggestion on how to build a base going forward and how I would probably build if I would play Techtonica again. Here's another example where I needed a few different things to make the alternative recipe for the mining charges. I brought them all out of the elevator on this level. I have a couple of machines producing them, and then I'm shipping back out of this level, and my FPS is still up around 45 here. If you utilize the elevator enough and split each level of your base, I think it would give you much better performance in the long run, and you would just have to manage the logistics of the elevator. A couple of suggestions for this would be specific areas that you need certain things from with the crusher. If you've played Techtonica, this will make more sense than if you have not. A couple of things that you need this crusher for specifically will be the production of your biodiesel that is coming out here. That's the BioBrick Diesel Pure. You need that for the sand pumps on the higher levels. Maybe make that on one level specifically. You don't do anything else there. Another thing that you need the crushers pretty heavily for, if you go into large scale in-game, would be the seeds for the sesamite plants. They get crushed, and then the byproduct of them gets crushed as well. That could be on levels 12, 13, deal with, making fuel on 12, deal with the sesamite plants on 13. Then another crusher intensive task would be gold and processors. That could be maybe on level 14 then. I do think if you split your base up in that way, dealing with scrap is what gets you gold, I should mention here. I feel like if you deal with your base in that way, it would be better for your FPS than to do everything on one level like I have here. To wrap up this video, I'd like to say, in my personal opinion, I do think Techtonica is a great game. It definitely has its performance issues. The UI is a little bit clunky. There are some things like that about it. It is an indie game. But, with all of that said, I do think Techtonica has the best story out of any automation game I've played. If you've already gone through Satisfactory and Dyson Sphere Program and Factorio and are looking for something else to pick up, I would give it a shot personally. I think it's really good. I am sad that the FPS issues are in the game, but from my understanding, the company, due to poor sales, has run out of money. This is all hearsay from talking to people on the Discord and things like that, so we won't be getting updates. But I am really glad they came out with a 1.0 launch, and I hope that if you play the game, you may learn a few things from this video on how to save your own FPS. If you liked the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Give me a comment down below what you do or don't like about the video as well, and consider subscribing. With that, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.
I think I should have listened to Ilt. listen to Ilt. listen to Ilt.